he'll be one to keep an eye on. One of 12 AFL-listed Swans out here today. Just the 9 AFL listed for Richmond as round 2 gets underway for the Tigers and the Swans. Grabbing it out of the ruck was Naismith. The kick did go towards half forward. Kelly ripped off the footy. Coming across from Collingwood in the off-season. Geddes then picked up. Umpire blew the whistle. Then paid the advantage, which wasn't quite there. Ben Edwards has to go give the ball back, and we're looking at Hayden Cleary goes with the lateral to McGaw. So the Swans, as you mentioned, Gemma, good win against Coburg last week. Richmond knocked off the reigning premier in the Gold Coast Suns. Francis can take it and send it inside 50 for the first time today. It's going to be dumped back out toward the boundary. What does the umpire say here? It was Chad Harris who dumped it back out. The intent was legitimate according to the umpire.
So just like last week, despite being named in defence, Sam Reid is starting forward, and despite being named forward, Aaron Francis is starting in defence.
Just the one goal for Sam Reid against the Lions last week. Naismith in front position here against Ludhams. Had a good day against Coburg last week. Now Street has it for the Tigers. The kick will land on the wing, cutting across the front of the pack. A brave effort there by Coulthard, but no mark was taken. And then running into trouble immediately was Cam Oldham.
It's pretty hazy here today, unexpectedly. It's meant to warm up once the haze clears, but it does look like a bit of a real autumn day, doesn't it?
Yeah, we're expecting some warm conditions here today. I certainly dressed for it, Gemma, but it's a bit chillier than that right now. Pushing the back, free kick will go Sydney's way. Jake Bartholomeus, the one and only Swan in the state squad, with the final squad to be announced this week, I believe, Gemma.
Yeah, obviously we've got no VFL next week because we do have the Big V game up against the South Australians, so everyone preparing for that. Should be a good one.
I know you and Joe will be all over that on the State of Play podcast as Bartholomeus sends his kick towards half forward. The only man that could go for the mark ended up taking it, Sam Naismith. One of the emergencies for the AFL game today. He turns it over in the middle of the ground. Geddes gets it for Sydney. There was one holdover for the Swans for the AFL game, Gemma.
Yeah, Jacob Costanti, the small forward, has been held over for Sydney's AFL match up the street later on this afternoon. Probably knocking on the door of that AFL debut, I would say.
Ralph Smith gets involved a couple of times. McAuliffe then goes down the line. A low sort of ball ended up working out okay, at least initially for Kaczynski. But the boundary umpire says no. It will be a throw in.
It's the first time really that Richmond has found a stoppage in, a neutral territory, isn't it?
They did get the first clearance out of the centre. Since then, it's been parked in Sydney's forward half. Naismith in ruck again. McAuliffe tried to loop a handball over the top. Indy Kirk, it's not his VFL debut, but debut was an AFL-listed Swan. He's going to get the free kick here. Dad is watching today, Gemma. Can you spot it in the crowd?
Yeah, all of Sydney's AFL coaching panel is in the crowd. Indy's coming back from appendix surgery. His first game back from that, so good to see him healthy. That's why he didn't play against Coburg last week. So the Swans in attack once more. Moi had it go through his legs. Harris able to get the hand pass out, and a couple of handballs for Richmond. We'll see the ball dump back out. Green throws it onto the boot. And I don't think there was a mark there because both players had a claim to it. For the Swans there, it was Edwards who got the handball out in the end. Vickery with the low pass for Reid. Too far out to score though. He doesn't want to go long. Over the head of Kelly, and Ralph Smith there to pick it off for Richmond. Had 25 touches against the Suns last week. Hugo Ralph Smith was named as an emergency for today. From here, it's just about getting that next possession for Richmond. It's always gone to a contest, and it's either been equalled or won by the Swans. So it's important to get a mark or a stoppage here in this next phase of the possession.
The Tigers gone down, clutching at a lower leg there. Samson Ryan is that man, getting up slowly, probably okay for Richmond fans. Elton Walk claims it at half back for Richmond. Now Street, one of the few remaining 2019 Premiership players in the VFL.
Samson Ryan doesn't look good at all. He's grabbing at his right lower shin / ankle. He's
trying to run it off though. That's all happening out on the Punt Road side of the ground. The ball here on this near side, and under a lot of pressure you're seeing as the ball goes out of play.
Yeah, it's not a positive start for Samson Ryan, who has struggled a little bit this year so far, but with the height that Sydney has in this side, they really need his presence in the air.
It's a scoreless game so far at the Swinburne Centre. There's Naismith in front once more. Got his kick smothered. Bartholomeus sends it high. It's a finger breaker. Good luck marking it. On the follow-up, forcing it forward, Fennelly. There's a lot of congestion around this ball. Cumberland got thrown out of it. There's a fair few Swans over the top of this ball. Taylor Adams is one of them. Gets it now, Adams. Has fed a hand pass out toward Laddams, but did miss the target. Yassine instead gave it to Ozzie Johnson. Inside 50. The Tigers haven't been this deep just yet. Francis did well to maintain front position. Adams getting another touch. Kelly with the dump kick back out toward the wing. McAndrew had a bit of work to do there. Plenty of Tigers around him. Caleb Smith trying to weave his way through. His teammate nearly got in his way, and there will be a free kick for Phil Moimoy. Kicked the one goal last week. 11 touches against Coburg for Moimoy. Was there holding while the ball was in the air? I think a non-controlling umpire's paid it. McAndrew will claim it for Sydney.
Yeah, McAndrew in the number 46 and Will Green in the number 45 are trying to play off one another as those two extra talls coming up the line.
Towards Sam Reid territory. Got punched away from him. Still a chance for Sydney, though. Weaving his way through. Cleary. Al Nawar in front position. Couldn't take the mark. There was late pressure coming. Well picked up by Reid. Moimoy. That is an off-balance kick that'll land at the top of the square. Gets punched back up in the air. Al Nawar fumbled at the wrong moment. Moimoy there to shark it and kick it. Swans on the board first at the Swinburne Centre.
It was just a damn wall that was going to break eventually, wasn't it, Adam? The Swans were peppering that attacking 50. It wasn't necessarily the neatest movement inside 50, not necessarily finding those lead-up targets. And they're winning the inside 50 counts 4-2. But it was just about keeping the pressure on that defence for an error to be made. So El Noor was unfortunately the one to make that error, dropping that mark. But for them to then swoop on it, so forcing that panic in the defence is always going to create opportunities for you if you stay involved in the play.
It was more than 7 minutes in the making, but the Swans have their first now. And we're expecting only 50% game time for Taylor Adams. I think he's been out there for all of it so far. He gets another touch here. There's Adams. Has to escape the Hugo Ralsmith tackle. Needed help, did well, and had the poise to eventually feed the ball back to Enderman as the Swans go deep once more. Al Nawar got a wicked bounce, but did get his body over the top of it. Now he needs some help. He's looking for a handball option. The kick then smothered off the boot of Harris. Still a chance here for the Swans if they can force a turnover. And it's Hamish Morrison who dives. And this would be Sydney's first set shot of the afternoon.
Again, that was born out of just forward pressure and keeping the defence unsettled, forcing those errors and then swooping when they're created.
Played the 5 games in 2023 for Sydney, first appearance of the year here today. So it might have taken 7 minutes to get the first goal on the board, but only a minute or two later, the Swans are able to get their second, and they're off to a good start against the Tigers.
We should make a point. We mentioned that Costanti is out as the holdover emergency for the AFL side. Ben Ashley Cooper is the one who's come in. He's playing up on the wing in the number 51. And we've also got a number change from your app or wherever you're checking stats. Lachlan Cabor normally wears the 68. He's wearing the 63 today. So in case you're confused, that's what's happening.
For us commentators to try our best to keep on top of that as well. Kapoor was in the 68 last week. Normally Ty Gander in the 63 for Sydney.
They look very, very different, so it's easy to tell that it's not Gander.
So Swans have struck twice already here. The Tigers did win the toss, decided to kick toward the northern end of the ground. No wind to speak of. Plenty of haze though, as we mentioned off the top. High clearing ball from McAuliffe. And the chest mark is taken by Jaden McGaw. Well weighted ball over the top there for Cleary. one of many coming out of that vaunted Allies side that won the championships last year. Kirk now going down the line. Over the head of Will Adams. McAuliffe, he fumbled there. The ball was turned over, then running into trouble was Joel Garner in for his first game, the vice-captain.
So it's really interesting. Will Bravo, as you mentioned, has got the job on Taylor Adams at stoppage and is getting really physical with him around stoppage. But as soon as the ball is gone from that stoppage situation, he's letting Adams just do what he wants and just trying to keep positioning rather than that real defensive role on Adams. So it's not, you wouldn't call it a tag, but it is an interesting way to choose to play a player like Adams.
Umpire sees some high contact. Free kick will go Indy Kirk's way. No doubt Dad had a lot of free kicks for that particular reason back in his day.
Champion player.
As the son of Captain Kirk goes inside 50. There's a chance here for the Swans again. Cleary didn't want to go on the left. Instead, it's an outside of the right foot ball. How does it bounce for Reed? Not all that kindly.
Reed was kind of hoping that was going to bounce across and go through, but I think he was a bit lost in terms of where he was positioned.
So Elner Ward just goes for a Sunday dash outside of the square. Long kick. Kelly tried to get front position. Ball got fisted away though. It was regained by Bravo. Yassine on the wing. Did well. Had the vision and the poise. But then the next handball, not so great. And the Swans do inflict the turnover. Kelly. Moi. Ball's ended up with Edwards. It's going to land in the hot spot once more for Sydney. Bouncing ball. Harris did well with the tap. And it's out in some space here. It's either going to go out of bounds or be a Richmond ball. I think that Sam Naismith will be happy to see it out.
So Archie May is trying to exploit how aggressive Aaron Francis is trying to play in that defensive role. So he's trying to get out the back of him quite a lot into the space closer to Richmond's goal. But Richmond just hasn't been able to break through that defensive press from the Swans to actually make use of him, but he's been working really hard to get into an important position.
And the Swans have really put the clamps down on Richmond as well, forcing repeat stoppage. Just over to the right, Samson Ryan doing some run-throughs on the bench at the moment. Doesn't look like he's out of the game necessarily. Did look bad initially when he was hobbling right on an outer wing as Kelly gets out his handball. Cleary, he's already up to 6 touches. Kirk, and now Moi already has 1 goal, and now he's got 2. A Smithy snag at the Swinburne Centre. Phil Moi has kicked 2 already.
It's been so dangerous on the deck, and it feels like the Swans have found that really good chemistry between the talls and what they can offer in the air, but then having that ground level representation to mop up if they do only equal it in the air rather than take that mark. And that's what makes a really good forward line work, is the chemistry between the talls and the smalls in that respect. And we see it at senior level for the Swans. Tom Papley is obviously the king of front and centre crumbing, but then to be able to do it at this level and have that chemistry, especially in a side that doesn't necessarily have consistent players throughout the year, to have that so quickly for a player who's new to the club is really impressive. Samson Ryan's back on the field as well.
He's going to contest the ruck here. So the Swans out to a 19-point lead here. Tigers have not scored. And Street is just being harassed in the centre circles there by Will Green. Bravo tries to go in. It's a hot footy to win right now. Lockie Wilson was desperate. Bounced overhead of Yassine. That's not hard. He's one of the smaller players out there in yellow and black this afternoon. It's a Sydney ball. Bartholomeus, though, had the one-on-one to deal with. They both went to ground there. His direct opponent was Liam George. Swans ball on the wing. No mark is paid. Bartholomeus was in immediate danger. Good tap on there by Francis. Moi and then Kirk going down the line, but he was pushed off his kick. And the Tigers regain it in front of the Swinburne Centre.
Some good increased pressure from the Tigers here. The Swans have been able to move from that kind of defensive half position into their attack a bit too easily so far, so good to see them get off the mark there.
Harris, and will land it half forward. Couldn't make the mark stick though, Archie May.
Oh.
Some late contact as he got the kick away there for Ben Edwards. Reed Ball did come out eventually to Morrison. Kirk again. He's been prolific so far, Inzy Kirk, as he goes inside 50. McAndrew playing forward at the moment. Ralph Smith, his kick was partially smothered. Street got taken as he went for the ball. That'll be his free kick inside defensive 50.
Kirk had the right idea with that kick. He just put it into the space in front of his leading target. He was just a little bit too short, but it's great to see him lowering his eyes like that in the way he's going forward.
I think he's already up to 5 touches as well. Cleary's had a good start as well. Ball on the outer wing as the Swans again force a turnover in toward Reed territory once more. Might get the handball. Reed, it was just a bit wayward. Harris looking to dump back out. Steely Green in the right position for Richmond.
Steely Green, he's another who has really impressed at this level but just hasn't had the chance to break through for that senior debut.
It's a 2-on-1 out here for the Swans. Snell couldn't really do much as soon as he gained it. No prior.
I'd love to see how many Ks Archie May has already run coming up and then trying to sprint back.
There's a lot of great live stats that you can get on the VFL app, Gemma, but meters run, perhaps not one of them. It'd be nice if we did, though, I must admit, as we see if the Tigers can at least penetrate the scoreboard here. They haven't been able to yet so far. The dummy handball, and then Liam George goes bang on debut. Out of the Eastern Rangers, Liam George finally gets the Tigers on the board.
Composure is the word, isn't it? Being able to sit there and, you know, feign a handball, feign a movement to just break through that defensive press that the Swans have done so well with to start this game. I got to watch Liam George get his photos taken with his family for his debut on the field before the game. He has got a massive amount of family here, so it's a nice way for them to be celebrating as well.
A much needed one for Richmond. Had plenty of time to make his decision, feign the handball as you mentioned, then realised, you know what, I'll just have a ping. And he split the middle.
But it is about making the most of those sorts of opportunities, isn't it? The Swans are obviously going to try and suffocate them away from their attacking 50, so when they do go in, they need to make it count.
It was his first kick in Smithy's VFL, and it went through for a major. Nice little crowd building. You imagine it'd get bigger throughout the day, Gemma, with the AFL game kicking off in a couple hours.
Yeah, it's a good Easter Sunday, isn't it, if you're a Swans or Richmond fan?
That's going on in town at the top level. Of course, the Bulldogs and Eagles, as well as Adams again gets another touch. A chance here. The kick's on its way. Morrison, it's going to bounce through. I think it has. Harry Morrison back in the lineup, and the Swans restore their 19-point buffer.
So if you said to me, Adam, that the Swans would kick 4 goals early in the game, knowing that Peter Adams, who kicked 4 last week, is in the team, Sam Reid, obviously champion AFL player, in the team, even Aaron Francis, who can play forward, are all in the side, but 2 have gone to Harry Morrison, 2 have gone, Hamish Morrison, sorry, there's 2 Morrisons inside, and 2 have gone to Phil Moimoy. I probably wouldn't have picked that.
Yeah, all 4 goals have come from the VFL list so far for Sydney. And that's it, the one Richmond goal. So 5 goals all by VFL listed players so far at the Swinburne Centre. McAuliffe with the look-away handball. Bravo crashing through. Had the time to turn and then go. The kick out toward the wing, arriving late but not taking the mark was Johnson. Did have some help there. Little kick came down the line. Green's under a bit of pressure. Oldham there to help out for Richmond. Handball though, there was no one to go to. Just handballed out in space. And it's a Sydney ball with Edwards with the sweeping pass. It's going to be turned over. Caleb Smith just might be too far out to score from here. Spins the ball in his hands. Gave himself some leverage and went to the top of the square, and it's just clunked out of nowhere by Ryan. Back out on the grounds after a lower leg complaint earlier in the quarter. Shouldn't have too much trouble from here.
It's just a great contested mark, and that's what he can do when he's in that contested situation. He's tall, he's got great reach, and just the strength to take it out. And the cliche is take it at its highest point. That's exactly what he did.
1 goal, 1 against the Gold Coast Suns last week. Samson Ryan gets one back for Richmond. Are they just starting to gain some momentum, the Tigers?
They do look incredibly dangerous once they are able to get inside 50. That's what the whole thing is. Sydney's come in with a conscious, with an awareness that Richmond does have dangerous weapons in attack. So if they keep them high and they don't allow them those entries, they'll be able to limit the scoring. But they have looked vulnerable once it has gone deep. So it's all about that high defensive press from the Swans. And for Richmond, it's just about grinding out that little bit of territory each time you can and making the most of it. So Sam, having those 2 tall options with Ryan and May deep now with Sam Naismith in the ruck, that should work to their advantage.
Into time on here. 4 goals to 2. Adams reading the tap well. He's been good in the middle so far, Taylor Adams, but on that occasion he turns it over. And Kane McAuliffe found himself in trouble. The ball is up for grabs. Over the top of it is the debutant Liam George. Kicked a nice goal earlier in the quarter. Was extracted by Cleary. High ball for Kelly against Yassine, and he did push Yassine out of the contest.
Just didn't need to do it. He's got so much height on him. He just needed to reach over him.
VFL product is Yassine as he goes inside 50. Again, it's Naismith this time who tried to clunk it. Francis with the tackle on May. And Francis, an interesting case study, isn't he, coming across from Essendon? What do you think he's at with the Swans?
He's been fantastic today, we should say. The problem is he's come into a side essentially as depth. We saw him get used in the AFL side last year because of the unfortunate circumstances with Paddy McCartan, and he played his role. But the question is he anything more than coverage should someone else get injured at this stage? He probably needs to improve on a couple of things if he is to push past some of those other keys, especially given Sydney's want to run and carry and really attack out of defence. Tom McCartan is there as the strong, key defensive option. But everyone else, when you look at that defensive line, is a running, attacking defender, and Francis just doesn't fit that structurally.
One ruck nearly found the other there, but Ryan couldn't get to the ball that was coming from Naismith as Sydney tried to repel back out. Tigers just on top in the last 5 minutes or so as that ball goes over the head of Bartholomeus. They've tried to lock it in here, Richmond. They're down by 13 at the moment.
They've done well to stem the flow, though.
It's Naismith in ruck against McAndrew. It's going to favour Naismith. McAuliffe couldn't control the ball in the air. Handball then missed Cleary for the Swans, and George gets it back for Richmond. He's been good on debut so far. The kick-in board finds Harris as he goes toward the hot spot, coming across the front of the pack, but not holding onto it was Cooper Vickery. Then the whistle went, and it's a free kick for Archie May.
And Archie's frustrated that he didn't. Oh no, it is coming back. I thought for a moment there that the umpire said, "Yeah, play on."
Archie May showed some good signs against the Suns last week. He did kick 2. Directly in front here, and this would be a chance at back-to-back goals for Richmond. The careful approach, umpire working to their left. It's a minor score.
It's unfortunate for him because I think he deserves a bit of reward for the effort he's put in so far today, May, but more opportunities will come to him given how hard he is working.
It's Geddes on the outer side for the Swans. Goes down the line. Jumping for the ball but unable to claim it was Harry Morrison. He got punched away from him.
Probably a little bit frustrated about the defensive pressure that Richmond maybe didn't apply in that circumstance there. They've done such a good job of maintaining that territory and bringing that pressure, and then for now to be in the Swans forward half feels like a bit of work rate lost.
Ground level ball that's up for grabs. Street picked up. Handball didn't go to the intended target. McAuliffe then came in. He got taken down. The tackle from Lockie Cabor, and he gets the free kick for Sydney.
There's an option on the wing. It's Taylor Adams. We're keeping a close eye on him today. It's coming up for disposal number 7. Already the leading ball getter on the ground on managed minutes. He's the former Pie. Right now we're looking at Harry Morrison. Is he thinking about a shot? He's going to gain as much meterage as he can before disposing toward the top of the square. It came off Reed's hands. Naismith quickly dumping back out. Bounced in front of Kelly.
Oh, that's unreal.
Noah Cumberland did well in the end. Throws it onto the left. He wants to go with the long switching ball. Did go to the one-on-one. It was Vickery doing well to keep it in front. And then a free kick was given away to Ashley Cooper. He goes down the line. Short 45 is okay. Edwards.
The kick from Cumberland didn't come off, but it's the right idea. Find the space, change the angle.
So Edwards going deep. Moy. An unrealistic attempt. No. Something was happening with Sam Reid behind all of that, and he'll claim the free kick for the Swans. Sam Reid, I should say.
The way the Swans have been going inside 50 hasn't necessarily been to Sam Reid's advantage, but they have been hyper conscious of him. So this is his chance to start to make his mark on this game.
Took 8 marks last week against Coburg. So the Swans leading by 12 before this kick at goal. The margin's now 13.
Just didn't look good off the boot, did it? Unfortunately. But he's moving well, which is what you want to see from Sam Reid.
Ralph Smith toward the Punt Road side of the ground. Kaczynski tried to claim front position against Kelly. Whistle does go. Are they thinking about advantage? It will be a Richmond ball. And he's going to come all the way back to Joel Garner.
Yeah, sorry. Cumberland snuck forward to start to be dangerous inside 50 here.
1 of 3 in the Victorian squad, Joel Garner. It's his first game for Richmond here today. Adams gets another touch. Handball comes out to Vickery. Out toward Reid territory. Alan Nawar was with him. Got tapped out the back. Alan Nawar. And the one-on-one there against Cabot. It goes out of bounds.
Yeah, so Cumberland is playing, that small forward role, which we know he is so good at. But he can get so dangerous, losing his direct opposition, moving between that higher position, nearly on a wing, and then pushing deep.
McAndrew from behind, but Street read it well. Couldn't quite get his handball through. Put Lockie Wilson under a bit of pressure. Swans have some numbers across the back of the contest. It'll be Geddes that sends it inside 50, and that's a lovely little chest mark by Moy. He's going for number 3.
He's looked dangerous, hasn't he? As a small crumbing forward, as a lead-up marking target, and really that's probably only the second really neat kick to a leading target inside 50 for Sydney so far today.
It's making an impression here is Phil Moy. This is for number 3 in the opening quarter. We're right behind it.
Oh.
That looks like it's going a little bit right to left. It did actually stay to the right, but it snuck in for 6. And it's the Swans by 19 as we approach quarter time.
Just bent back, didn't it? It wasn't the most beautiful kick you'll see, but it went from right to left exactly. But it's a strong start from the Swans, who we said prior to the game that they probably come in as underdogs, given they did get a big win last week, but it was against a Coburg side that we know did struggle a lot last year, whereas the Tigers come in having beaten the reigning premier away from home in an impressive performance.
I was just going to say, Swans have the advantage as well with the 12 AFL listed against 9 for Richmond today.
Yeah, I would agree, but I also think that it's the VFL listed players that are really stepping up. Obviously, Moy has been important in attack, so has Morrison. We're seeing a bit from, those strong half-forward mids who are just getting in and under, creating a bit of chaos around the footy as well. But I have really liked Indy Kirk's game as well.
Edwards and Moy with the 6 touches. Kirk, as you mentioned, with the 5. Taylor Adams has 8 for Sydney. Might get number 9 here. Yes, he does. Gave off the handball, and it's sent inside 50 by Jordan Enderman. Reed's underneath it. Got rid of his man. Couldn't take the mark, though. There's Ralph Smith. He's done that a few times already. Street. Now Smith. Kick goes toward the wing, goes over the head of Kazitsky. And waiting for it out the back for the Swans there was McGaw. Got taken high.
Are you smelling that wafting of the deep heat as the wind comes our way, Adam?
It's a lovely smell. It's good to have footy back after a long summer. You know it's back when you're getting that deep heat just wafting through. So the Swans happy to switch it once more. It's back on their terms here after Richmond tried to gain some ascendancy in the middle of the quarter. Enderman, a pressured handball out wide. Morrison then just chipping one toward Moi, but he gets picked off. Direct opponent was in front of him. It was Guinea who reclaims it for Richmond. Gets told to hurry up. Samson Ryan underneath this ball. The spoil from Francis. And that's the end of the first here at the Swinburne Centre. 5-2-32 Sydney. Richmond 2-1-13. A good start for the Swans.
Yeah, absolutely.
This quarter we're expecting only half game time for him. Had the 9 touches in the first quarter.
Yeah, he's obviously a really, really damaging midfielder, but it throws up the question, Adam, how does he get back into the AFL side if fit and ready to go? Because that midfield's humming on its own, isn't it?
The Swans in general just looking like world beaters at the moment, not only at the top level but here in Smithy's VFL as well. As Cumberland didn't get the bounce he would have liked up against Snell, who hand passed back into traffic. There's a holding free kick going Sydney's way.
Yes, Snell is playing that role on Cumberland. I mentioned before, Cumberland can be pretty dangerous if because he quite often is able to lose his direct opponent, but Snell is being super conscious of Cumberland when Richmond's in possession.
Edwards went with the short option. And this man looked pretty good in the first quarter as well, Caden Cleary.
Absolutely, he did. He's
had 6 touches.
Obviously a recent draftee to the AFL side, staking his claim. They're obviously without Caleb Mitchell, who's making his senior debut today. He was fantastic last week with 30 touches and was just involved in everything. So the fact that they've been able to cover the loss of him around the ball has been impressive.
Bravo with the long-range handball for Ryan. Has to go back in and help because Ryan did fumble. Plenty of Swans around it. Francis for Kelly. Dropped it at the wrong moment. McAuliffe then came in to completely nullify his influence on the ball as Smith goes outside of the right boot. Diving effort by Coulthard. Actually did well to claim it.
That was great by Coulthard.
High left football. The Tigers would love the first goal of this second quarter. It's bouncing inside 50. Snell was in the vicinity, tackled by Samson Ryan. It stayed alive there as little kick went down the line, only as far as Bravo though for the Swans as he looks to go in board. Umpire didn't pay it, must have been touched off the boot. Harris got taken down by Reed.
Swans have done really well to start this quarter to get numbers back and actually just really populate that defensive 50. So there's not a lot of space.
McAuliffe on the left, the kick is on the way. It's gone across the face of goal.
And because of that lack of space, because they're getting back into defence, they're forcing pot shots like that from distances that aren't necessarily high percentage kicks rather than being able to hit up a target, although Samson Ryan did have a nice lead there that wasn't on it. So just that connection, I think, for Richmond between the midfield and the forward line improved late in that last quarter, but has lacked a little bit early here.
Kane McAuliffe showing some good early season form in the VFL. Had the 9 MVP votes last week and he started off well here today as well. But he couldn't kick the goal on that occasion. Geddes. Little hand pass to Snell. Chipping ball for Kelly. Ralph Smith with the big fist over the top and Johnson then quickly fed it out to Green and he just timed that kick beautifully for Kazitsky. He wants to centre it. There's a couple of options but then coming across at the last moment. Bartholomeus for Sydney regains and now Adams is coming up for number 10.
That was a seriously good kick from Green.
Reed has it. 2 kicks from home. First inside 50 of the quarter for Sydney. It was punched away from Laddams. Ended up in Smith's hands for Richmond. Now Johnson saw something he liked in the middle of the Swinburne centre, but the kick didn't have enough on it. And doing well defensively was Adams with a fist out on the wall, left it behind. Bravo luckily there. Has to shake off the tackler. Did well, Bravo. Back toward the middle we go. Straight. Heard a voice on the outer side. His kick went out there to Coulthard. Back where he took that diving mark earlier in the quarter. Short ball for Harris, gets a decent look. It's on its way. Won't be a shot. Instead, it's a kick toward the square. Desperate defending for Sydney. It's a stoppage. Geddes with the footy. Has to give it back to the umpire.
Samson Ryan is getting increasingly frustrated in that forward 50 for Richmond. He's been out alone quite a few times and they just haven't hit him up.
There's a lot of players around this ball. Sydney have been flooding the ball well today. Francis coughed up the ball to Ryan. Got taken down by Geddes though.
It's just about having that vision going inside, being willing to look wider than just corridor in the forward 50.
Was there some high contact there on Olden? What does the umpire say? There were two umpires there. I think they're both paying the same thing. So a chance for Cam Olden to reduce this lead down to 12 points for Richmond.
Not a bad spot to cop a free kick directly in front. What's that, 30 metres out from goal? This will be a really good way for them to continue to build on the momentum they started last quarter.
This will be Richmond's first major since the 20-minute mark of the first quarter. And Taylor Adams getting involved afterward. There might be a free kick after the goal here. Umpires indicating a free kick for Richmond. And this is close to boiling over into a full-blown fracas. I think the umpire indicated a free kick to Richmond, so I think the goal for Olden counts, and there might be another one. They're looking at back-to-back goals. Olden's being handed to Sherrin. There is a mini melee going on just to his left. He's going to chip it over the top for Cumberland. Umpire won't allow that. Cumberland wanted to sneak in for a goal, so Olden has to take the set shot. A lot to unpack there, Gemma.
I don't even know how that melee started. It's just unnecessary as well, isn't it? And to give up, and now Adams is having a chat with the umpire.
So I think Taylor Adams was on the mark for that last goal as well. Olden might have had something to say to Taylor Adams after it. Let's see what happens this time. Cam Olden again has just kicked back-to-back set shot goals, and again he lets Taylor Adams know about it.
Oh,
Richmond with the double goal. And again, some afters. William George is being thrown out of the contest there. Out of the fracas by Aaron Francis.
Adams had a swipe at a couple of Richmond players, so obviously some things have been said that he didn't take too kindly to. Still having some chats. But he's a professional. He won't let that bother him for the rest of the game. He'll just get back on his bike. But credit to Richmond. Not only did they create two opportunities in the end, one through different sort of circumstances, but actually Olden took him, went back, kicked accurately. We've seen teams doing the VFLW yesterday, Essendon kicking themselves out of a win that they should have had. Ended up in a draw, happened last week as well. We've seen Port Adelaide at senior level as well. Just accuracy at goal is just letting them down. So good to see you create opportunities however you have, but to actually go back and convert.
One free kick inside 50, resulting in 2 goals for Richmond. And now George, who's shown a bit on debut. Round a corner. Coulthard's just patrolling that wing nicely at the moment. It's his third mark out there in this second quarter so far. We're a goal away from equaling the game, and the kick goes directly into Kazitsky territory. Hasn't got one yet today, Jacob Kazitsky.
It was a good lead, and it was good to see them honour it, because that's sort of the area that Samson Ryan was working really hard in for a lot of the start of this quarter, and they were missing that he was there.
So 2.5 minutes ago, Richmond was down by 18 points. This kick will just be touched over the line, so that margin is now down to 5.
It has been all Richmond this quarter. Starts around the footy, but I think more importantly, it's that higher press that they're willing to apply. The Swans aren't getting that end-to-end football like they were earlier in the game.
Tom Longmire recovered well from the fumble in defensive 50. He had the poise to regain, then sent it back toward the middle of the ground. He is the son off the Sydney senior coach. Holding the ball, free kick, McAndrew for Sydney. Went to the voice. Handball was given off to Enderman. Wide ball for Indy Kirk. It bounced okay for him. Had a good start to this game, Indy Kirk. It's a high ball that's going to land in the hot spot. Laddams had it punched away from him.
Didn't hit the target in Kirk, but I like the way the Swans are trying to shift the defence in such a way, and the fact that they've got representation that is actually finding that space in the pockets rather than just trying to kick long and just get territory without actually much method to the way they're actually moving forward.
It just opens up a little bit in the last couple of minutes of this game. Swans had a pretty tight clamp on affairs throughout the first quarter. Yassine, they're trying to move it by hands here. Richmond, so far so good. Guinea, low data, a little too low, but Reed couldn't quite claim it. Some desperate defending on all fours there was Edwards. Now Johnson.
Let's come back.
That's gone through. That had a lot of right to left about it. Richmond have 3 in a row, and it's their lead. No, it's not quite their lead just yet. Scores are level. Forgot about that Sydney point moments ago. But they are well back in this, Richmond.
A few hands on knees, a few tired players from that aggressive running effort from end to end there from the Tigers. But we've seen a shift in how they're playing. They're not just trying for those long kicks to a pack anymore. Often in that first quarter, they were just trying to kick long to a contested situation and not winning it. Now, as we see Sam Reid line up on the wing, which I imagine is so that he can slide into defence once the ball is bounced, they're actually using run and carry handball to get through the middle of the ground rather than just trying those kicking options. And it's really shifted the way this game is being played out.
Sun's out now here at the Swinburne Centre. Level ball game after the Swans led by 19 at quarter time. Richmond with 3 unanswered here in the second quarter. McAuliffe. Kick more in hope more than anything else, trying to draw one of the key forwards to it. Kaczynski got caught behind there, had to play the role of tackler. Yassine just snatches it for the Tigers. A score puts him in front here. Want to Coulthard. He couldn't take the mark. Johnson again. Left it behind, goes back in, needs to feed the handball out. Now Smith. He's sidestepping. Ralph Smith gets a decent look. Kick is on the way. This is for 4 in a row. Tigers on fire, and they have a lead.
That was an unreal goal. That they've just navigated this end of the ground really, really well. The Tigers, they know their distance. They know the way the wind is going to move. They know everything about those shots at that end of the ground. But importantly, it came from the ability to break through that ground level congestion again. It's something they could not break through for the life of them in the first quarter. But now they're finding those teammates in good positions to hand off those handballs to. Everyone's getting on the run a little bit more as well, so maybe work rate has just turned up a notch.
4 goals in 6 minutes for Richmond. Hugo Ralphsmith gets his first. Coming off a good game against the Suns last week, 29 touches and 9 marks. He's named as one of the emergencies for later on today. As we've discussed earlier, Jacob Constanti for Sydney's being held over for the AFL game. And the Tigers lead for the first time today. They've kicked 4 unanswered in this second quarter. McAndrew, just a desperate heave inside 50 and underneath it. For the Tigers is Joel Garner. Came across from Footscray. Did play at AFL level for the Power back in 2019. Long kick down the line from Caleb Smith. It's going to land on the wing, plays looking into the sun. Reed went down. It was an awkward one for Sam Naismith. There'll be a ball up.
So close to taking that mark, his legs just came out from under him.
Cleary's handball, Geddes. Standing start, kick around a quarter. Laddam's got rid of his man, but didn't claim the footy. They're tracking back here. Garner has to take on the tackler. Was under pressure. Harris stood tall. Hand pass out toward Johnson. Richmond have brought their own share in here in the second quarter. McAuliffe, and look at the space out here on the wing. I think that's Yassine for Richmond, and he goes for a dash. He takes a bounce. Yassine. 2 bounces. Goes to 40, took some contact on the kick. It went through for a goal. Umpire should pay the advantage, and again, it's all happening. Richmond have already benefited from a free kick after a goal. Sydney have to be careful. What a goal that was by Yassine. And there is a bit of feeling in this one. And by the way, McAndrews just coming off looking slightly proppy just in front of us, Gemma. I think he's okay.
I think he's just absolutely exhausted. He's been trying to be the one from the ruck going back to add to the defensive coverage, as Sam Reid has done as well. And he's just absolutely out on his feet. And I imagine, yeah, Green will come into the ruck now for him while Laddam stays as a key forward option. But that was brilliant from Richmond. As I said, work rate's gone up, which has meant that those handballs around congestion, they have more representation, which means they're better equipped to get out of that pressure defensive kind of thing that the Swans have been bringing since the very start of this game. And as soon as they get that one handball that's clear enough, they've got options because they've got very disciplined players sitting on the outside like Yassine was just then. All they need to do is pop the kick over and it's space galore.
5 goals on the bounce for Richmond after a great start for Sydney. That's Cleary going inside 50. Now it's the Swans that suddenly need a goal. They might just get a great smother to neutralise the footy. Garner's under pressure. Harris, what was the intent there? It'll be a throw in.
Adams was calling for a holding the ball free kick there. He's not happy that he didn't get it.
Tigers have come alive here. Taylor Adams, by the way, has the 10 touches in this game so far.
Lining up to come back onto the ground.
Handball toward the goal line here, and under some pressure, Morrison does go over.
Well, Adams brought a bit of chaos in the last couple of minutes here. He's just hurdled his own teammates and legged himself. So there's a bit going on.
We've just got to arrest some momentum here, the Swans at the moment. Chad Harris out toward Green. Didn't have much room to work with, just took it in time. Andrew umpire was right there.
May wants it long down the line.
Green goes directly into Lockie Cabot. Not quite a turnover, but a cheap giveaway possession.
It just keeps it in the Swans' front half. They really need to make something of this, though, to arrest that momentum that Richmond's found.
Both rucks starting from a long way back here. It's often talk about whether or not the boundary umpires are making the distance they need to on the throw-ins. I think more often than not, it's just the rucks that stand way too far back, Gemma. We'll get another look here.
Neither wants to be the player in front because it's very easy to get nudged under the footy that way. So if you keep going back because no one wants to be the one behind.
So you've got Laddams and Samson Ryan. They're almost inside the centre square here as their starting point, and they'll come nearly 20 metres forward, I would call that, Gemma.
Yeah, I would agree.
The punch from Laddams. Non-controlling umpire saw something. Free kick going Taylor Adams' way. Disposal number 11 for him. Reed's underneath. Didn't quite get close enough, though. Took some late contact. And Garner's a little slow to get up for Richmond. A little worse for wear. No. This could be a concussion issue, potentially.
He doesn't look good at all.
He wants to stay out there, the vice-captain, but his hand's going to be forced here.
He can barely hold his own weight up.
And what that'll do, Gemma, that'll put his chances of representing the Big V next week at jeopardy as well if this is a concussion issue.
Well, obviously this year the concussion rules have changed in levels below AFL and AFLW. So it's still at AFL and AFLW level, it's 12 days out, mandatory, with concussion issues. But at this level and everything below, it's 21 days now, so that's 3 weeks.
Question on the spot, though. What happens if it's an AFL player who gets concussed in a VFL game?
They're still AFL listed.
So it'll be the AFL protocol for an AFL player.
Yes.
If it happens in a non-AFL game.
That's what my understanding is, yes.
Hadn't yet seen an official clarification for that one.
Well, it's a good question. Might be one for me to chase this week.
I'm sure someone's listening that can give us an answer. So it's up for grabs. Swans just need something. Morrison took some contact, got pinged for holding the ball. Free kick advantage paid, and it goes out toward George. Kicked a nice goal in the first quarter, the debutant out of the Eastern Rangers.
Well done from the Swans here to slow this footy down, because this is where Richmond has been really dangerous this quarter.
He decided to take on the man on the mark, which was Sam Reid, and that did not come off the way he would have wanted to. A rush kick at goal doesn't come off, though, for Ben Ashley Cooper.
Yeah, that high press has started to re-emerge now for the Swans. Now they've been able to get that territory, but for a lot of this quarter, Richmond has far too easily gotten it out of their back half. But now just slowing down that ball movement, it doesn't allow that player to sneak back because they're trying to be representation higher up the ground.
Swans have been peppering 3 behinds for no goals so far in this second quarter. Johnson, look away handball, eventually gained by May, just forced it down the line. How's it going to bounce here for McGaw? Gets it now, centering ball. Francis initially lost his footing. Yassine was lurking. Francis does get boots of ball. Reed's been heavily involved in this game so far. This time it's reclaimed by Ashley Cooper. Desperately trying to keep it in front there. Kilbore. A couple of Tigers getting back in numbers though. One of those was Guinea, umpire hovering. It's a ball up on the paint.
Both sides working really hard to maintain their defensive structures behind the play, which just means that there's spares sitting at either end of the ground. So every time the ball gets kicked either way, there's an outnumber in the defensive side.
Straight to George. That didn't go the required distance. Bravo with his vision going in board. Bartholomeus had it go over his head. Ball's up for grabs at centre half forward for the Swans. High contact. Free kick, Sydney. Bartholomeus to take it. Short 45 option for Adams. Kick didn't quite come off. Richmond get it back and May now has it.
Just wasn't the option. It was a 3-on-1 and you're going to one of your shorter players. Needed to go deeper to some of the keys.
Tigers by 10. They were down by 19 at quarter time. They've kicked 5 unanswered in this second quarter. Bumped off the footy was Cam Olden. He was the one that kicked the double goal after what was initially a high contact free kick. Then after he kicked the first goal, there was some afters involving mainly Taylor Adams, and he ended up with another set shot. Olden this time looking to set up a goal assist, but it won't come off. Bartholomeus there for Sydney. Standing start kick for Longmire goes high and ends up back in Richmond hands. It's Naismith that has it.
So again, it's this kick to kick essentially, because both teams just have players dominating their defensive side.
Drew Kaczynski to the ball, and the kick was measured beautifully.
And that is how you break through it. You actually find the space and force your forward to lead into that space rather than kick it to them on their heads in and out number.
Kicked it directly into the space, didn't he? Kaczynski had the perfect run on it.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas the Swans have been guilty of kicking on the head of a player in a 3-on-1.
Did have a shot at the other side of the grounds earlier in this quarter. That one, I don't think registered a score. Kaczynski here. Was heading for the post the entire time.
Yeah, it didn't look great. It always looked narrow, but just we talked a little bit about that form with chemistry and that connection between mid and forward for Richmond. That's definitely come to the fore now.
Adams involved again. He's up to 12 now. Inside the centre square, Richmond look to win it back here. Ralph Smith kicked a good goal earlier in the quarter. This time he gives off. Smith in toward the pockets, and that is clunked very nicely indeed by Samson Ryan.
Samson Ryan, he's been working so hard, and I've mentioned it a couple of times. Needs to go back and take this opportunity now that they've honoured him.
Kicked one in the first quarter. No doubt, every Tigers listed player's had plenty of practice from this pocket in front of the Swinburne Centre, the David Manzi building, to extend Richmond's lead out to 17 points. Extends it only to 12.
I was lucky not to miss everything there. Adam, I've got an update. You said someone smarter than us was going to be listening in. That's correct in terms of the concussion protocol. AFL and AFLW listed players who suffer a concussion in a VFL or VFLW game, they have the 12-day return to play protocol.
The AFL protocol, yeah.
This is because players in AFL and AFLW competitions have the benefit of advanced care settings. So they are closely monitored over those 12 days.
That does clear up that slight grey area that we weren't fully sure on. It does make sense, though.
Probably something I should have been aware of prior to coming into this, to be fair.
Well, these are still AFL-sanctioned games as well, aren't they, here
in
the state leagues? So
that would be the right way to go. Al Noir on the outer side. So Garner, as we know, VFL listed, so if that is a concussion, then he's got the 21 days. Cumberland couldn't take it. Sydney ball. Back toward the wing we go. Kick to the one-on-one. Will Green was in battle there. Al Noir picked up. Green did well to apply the tackling pressure. Richmond had some helpers in the end though. Kick comes in board. Just picking it up off the deck there was Smith. He goes towards half forward. And the mark is taken by Naismith, and then he switches out wide. Coulthard has it. He's had a good second quarter.
Naismith or Coulthard? Both?
Both, I guess. I was thinking of Coulthard. He's taken plenty of marks in the forward half.
But that is textbook what we're talking about Richmond doing. Forcing Sydney to kick to the out number and then slingshotting back out into space.
So Matt Coulthard is thinking about a shot here. Mid-season rookie last year. Right football. That won't register a score. Comes off hands. Hard ball to win this one. Tried to crash through and maybe get a shot on goal there. Didn't know what Cumberland's, but he left the ball behind ultimately. Green's little handball. It's pinballing around. A number of players. Adams gets taken to ground by Al Noir. Did get the handball out in time according to the umpire.
Al Noir helping Adams up off the ground there after a couple of words between the two as well. I think they're trying really hard to get under Adams' skin after what happened earlier.
He's a good established player in the VFL now. Mutaz Al Noir in that Big V squad, with, I believe, a final side being announced this week in the lead up to gather round.
Yeah, plenty happening in Adelaide next week. But over here, we've still got some fun stuff. We've got the AFLW Academy game next week alongside a standalone VFLW round. So there's a lot happening still in Melbourne too, Adam.
There's a push free kick going McAuliffe's way here. He's in no immediate rush. There is a lead in the pocket for Kazitsky, and he's marking everything coming his way at the moment.
They're just drawing him out, aren't they? Drawing him out as that running leader. And they're actually hitting him. And that's, I think, other than that ability to win the footy off half-back and actually rebound, that's the biggest thing that's changed for Richmond this quarter, is actually honouring those leads inside 50 rather than trying to go to stagnant options and just having it turned over every time.
He's taken 4 marks now, has Kazitsky, right football. Much like the last one from this side of the ground, he couldn't quite get the angle right. Kick was smothered as the Swans are desperately trying just to repel this ball back out. They eventually will. Dump kick toward the wing. 2 Tigers against 1 Swan. Doing well was Girolami. And tackled out of that ball was Harris. Crashing through Wilson. Good pressure from the Swans.
This is what Richmond has done really well, is they've forced every kick out of defence to go to an outnumber. That's the first time really the Swans have been able to win it when they've been in that outnumber. It's well done to Lachlan McAndrew, and Green.
High tackle, free kick advantage paid, or is it coming back? Street wanted to run away with it. He's going to come back to Ryan. Free kick given away by Laddams.
You keep mentioning the state game, obviously, and the squad that's been chosen. We had Nick Coughlin on the State of Play podcast last week, and he said, look, my team has to come first. Big V is great, and being selected is great, but the reality is I've got to put my team first. Oh, unnecessary.
As Laddams put straight down after the kick, Samson Ryan not happy with the treatment. This might be downfield. The Swans have been particularly undisciplined in this second quarter. A downfield free kick shot at goal coming up for Kazitsky.
Peter Laddams famously ruled him out of grand final selection in 2022 by an action similar to that one in the VFL as well. So it's just not needed, isn't it?
This is for 6 unanswered goals in the second quarter for the Tigers. Jacob Kazitsky has had multiple looks. And he was well off balance and shanked it. Actually surprised it got that close.
So yeah, just going back to the Big V chat, it's nice for a standalone club to have a captain who says, my club has to come first, as much as it would be an honour to play. You'd think Joel Garner is wondering which is more important right now, given he probably can't play either for 3 weeks.
Don Brew announced as that Big V captain earlier this week. Where did he start? Got thrown down in the tackle there,
Here's
Caleb Smith.
Bit in this, isn't it?
Bit of veg, I dare say. On this near side wing, and again, strong tackle, but it was high, and a free kick this time will be paid to Caleb Smith.
You can just see that frustration creeping into the Swans game after having so much dominance in that first quarter and for that to have fallen away so significantly now.
Chad Harris, his kick going down the line. Ryan couldn't take the mark, perhaps. It was Naismith rather, perhaps losing it in the sun. Kelly's little kick in board is going to result in the turnover. Steely Green going for Cumberland. Perhaps he could have gone for the shot, but it bounced nicely for Cumberland. Had a long time to get rid of that ball, but he did so. And now running into trouble for the Swans is Longmire. It's a hot footy to win right now. Can the Tigers get another look at goal? It's Adams. Went to the voice. The kick was smothered. Ryan's wrapped up. Boy, that was hot in the kitchen.
Green's got to be less selfish. He's had a couple of opportunities there that he's passed off. Every right to go for that goal there, but his kicking is elite.
Kelly over the top of this ball for Sydney. The son of the Collingwood CEO. Ball up. 13-point lead for Richmond. Trailed by 19 at quarter time.
So the Tigers here have two spares sitting behind the ball. So that kick out from the Swans, unless it's measured, is going to go directly to a Tiger.
Partially smothered ball for Vickery. Harris. Incorrect disposal is what's been paid here for McAndrew.
Bit of a scoop to that one. Now it's 50.
Took too long to give it back there, Chad Harris. Swans would love a goal before the halftime siren. We are beyond 30 here.
So Will Green is Swans' deepest attacker right now.
We don't have the luxury of access to the countdown clock, Gemma. As McAndrew goes long to the goal square. Multiple chances to take that mark, and none forthcoming in the end for Green.
Green just tried to pluck that over the head and almost took it.
The way Samson Ryan did in the first quarter.
Exactly. Smart.
George gives off the handball. The second lands on the full. Just pushed off his kick there, Caleb Smith. Another look here for the Swans, but the clock is ticking. Magor played around with where the mark was, then ran it to 50. His kick, though, is going to miss.
Adams is in a bit of a scuffle again.
He gave away that free kick a couple minutes ago.
I think the Tigers have identified a couple of vulnerabilities in terms of frustration areas and trying to make the most of them.
The Swans have really been un-Swans-like in this second quarter, haven't they?
Yeah, it's just those little things that are creeping in because of frustration.
The first quarter may have belonged to Sydney, but it was all Richmond at Tigerland in the...
But Latham straight into the ruck. Swans have got to get the discipline down pat because they gave up a little bit based on just ill-disciplined acts in the last quarter, which allowed Richmond to make the most of their momentum. So quelling it down a little bit and just playing their footy.
So Jaden McGorda, leading ball getter on the ground with 16 in the first half. Adams is next best with 14, and we do believe that he's on those managed minutes. We thought he'd be out of the game by now, but still out there for the moment. Sydney ball here. And in the hands of Indy Kirk, who has impressed a lot. It's not quite, as we see a good mark taken here. A chance for the Swans. It's Green that's taken it. Gets some pats on the head as well for that, for the young man. Good contested mark. Just going to say about Indy Kirk, though, not his VFL debut, but his first game in the VFL as an AFL-listed player.
Yeah, he was picked up as, I believe, a Category B rookie from their selection zone last year. He's obviously toiled really, really well in the VFL over the last couple of years and now at that senior level.
All eyes, though, on Will Green. The right foot ball, and the Swans get the start they needed here in the third quarter. Did not kick a goal at all in the second and only took less than a minute to score a major here in the third, and the margin is 6 points.
Every Swans player on the field got to him there. Obviously his first goal in the VFL in his second game. He is one that is another AFL-listed Swan, but he started to present really nicely late in that second quarter. Ball wasn't getting down there a lot, but he's starting to use his height really nicely. So maybe he can be the one to spark it in that attacking 50.
Not far away from the AFL game here, Richmond versus Sydney, just down the road at the Melbourne Cricket Grounds, and a good crowd in here that no doubt are going to make their way over, just like you, Gemma, a little later on this arvo.
It is a good crowd, and yeah, if I disappear from the call, it's because I've got to get to my other job, unfortunately. Sorry, everyone, but yeah, it should be good. Maybe this one goes Richmond's way and the other goes Sydney's way is what we're anticipating.
There's a hold here, free kick going Richmond's way. Taking on the man on mark was Lockie Street, gives it straight back over. Taylor Adams just pickpockets him, then gives the handball to Indy Kirk. It's Captain Kirk's son who goes to the top of the square for the Swans. They're looking for a 2 in a minute. Moi couldn't take the mark. Morrison sees it out.
It's just the opposite forward representation that you'd want there. You wanted that tall to be sitting in the goal square to take that high mark from that Kirk kick, but it was Moi and the talls that led out. But starting to get exciting, and Adams is very much an igniter of that.
Naismith in ruck against McAndrew, who did trip over. So it was an uncontested ball for Naismith in the end. McAuliffe, who had a good first half, dumping it back out, but it only goes as far as Magor. Kick is on the way. Is that going to sneak in? No. On the wall to bring the ball in for the Tigers.
Well done to Max Geddes there, who could have taken that intercept mark coming out, but was really aware of Magor coming through, so opted not to go for the footy and protected his run going inside. So those are little T-Macs that'll get picked up by coaches that aren't necessarily ones that get a stat.
Cleary with the handball. It's Ben Edwards going into attack for the Swans once more. On the war affecting the contest. Green lost out there, but the hand pass to Moi, who he did kick 2, or 3 rather, earlier in this game. That one was off balance.
You'd think watching this, given all the players being down that end of the ground, that there's a significant wind or that's affecting things. It's actually incredibly still, so there's no wind about it. It's just momentum shifting, isn't it?
The large majority of goals have been kicked to the Richmond Station end of the ground here. That'll be busy as the AFL game creeps closer.
The boundary umpire ran straight into that behind post, hence it shaking very, very hard right now.
Chance here for the Swans again. High right foot snap will land in the pocket. Kirk is underneath. Eldon War kills it off.
Will Green a bit frustrated there. He thinks his run to actually compete for that ball was impeded by Olden.
Kicked 2 goals in the second quarter, Olden. McAndrew tried to keep it in front. The tackler was Harry Morrison for Sydney. So we've got some repeat stoppage. Adams taken to ground straight away by Naismith, Moi. And Hugo, Ralsmith and Guinea both there.
So just like Richmond did last quarter, the Swans have 3 sitting behind the play here. So that long kick out, desperate dump kick out of defence from the Tigers. Laddams and Aaron Francis are sitting unopposed. So it's a dangerous one, which makes that a very smart kick from the Tigers.
George giving off the handball. Smith got pushed off his kick. Bouncing ball on the wing, punched away from Snell. Kelly. Hand pass got intercepted by Noah Cumberland. Then played some soccer. That was clever. Geddes. Hand pass out. Ben Edwards. The high ball there. Looking into the sun once more. Harris on clean-up duty for Richmond. Smith. The hand pass inboard. Ducking and weaving was Guinea. Did well. 2-on-1 here for Sydney. Snell got tangled up there with Ryan. Waiting for it out the back was Will Edwards. High kick. Samson Ryan just getting himself in a spot of bother against Edwards as the ball was sent inside 50 for Sydney. Comes to ground. Eldon War throws his body at it. Street needs to get the hand pass out. Did so Green. Richmond using it well by hand. Then McAuliffe tried to go to the voice, and that was where the mistake was made. It's regained, though, by Wilson for Richmond. Street once more. Guinea. The sideways ball ends up with George. Left foot. Cumberland took the body. Didn't take the mark, but it was as good as, because he was able to quickly get it back inside 50 for the Tigers. Kazitsky, how does it bounce for him? Snell's there with him. That might have come off a boot. Just got to be careful there. Throwing is the call. That wasn't far off coming off the boot of Snell.
Cumberland obviously was the option in that run of play there down the line, but the Tigers actually got a couple of players free right in the corridor that would have been incredibly dangerous had they been hit up. So the Swans just need to start protecting that a little bit more.
Tap one by Ryan. Kazitsky picked up, but got taken by Enderman.
Moy Moy and Al Noor just having a bit of a chat with one another, just a casual, friendly chat while the ball's at the other end of the ground.
Ludham's grabbed it out of the ruck, but his handball was intercepted. Then Yassine goes outside of the right boot. How's that for vision? Samson Ryan going for number 2.
Again, it's that squaring option back into the most dangerous part of the ground. Swans were vulnerable higher up the field for it, with those players running through the corridor, and then again, couple that get caught coming up to the ball, leaving their direct opponent standing alone right in front of goal.
Mo Yassine, not a huge accumulator, but he's done some nice things today.
He's just got that step that unsettles a direct opponent.
Ryan's been in the thick of it all day so far. Kicks through that ball nicely. Tigers by 11 at the Swinburne Centre.
Yeah, and that stops any momentum the Swans seem to have gotten from that goal earlier on. But just the awareness of where those teammates are. So it's great if you can get yourself into a good position, but if your teammates are never spotting you up, it kind of seems like no point, right? So actually Richmond's awareness to look for those options closer to goal or that are squared up or sitting in the corridor makes them so dangerous. And if you get caught napping as a defender, you can really, really get exposed.
That's the State of Play podcast. Gemma Bastiani on specials today. Big show this week coming up with the state game coming up next weekend in Gather Round with yourself and Joe Pignataro.
Yes, I think we've got coach of the Big V side, Zane Littlejohn, as our guest this week.
Geddes just bouncing off the tacklers there. McGaw, who is the leading ball getter on the ground, that's disposal number 18. Kelly engaged in battle here with Johnson, who gets it now from Guinea. Johnson, his kick partially smothered by Geddes. It still might land in a dangerous spot for the Tigers, but the Swans have some numbers and doing pretty well in that one-on-one. Was Longmire. Goes in again, Longmire. The handball, bit of pressure, and they make a meal of it. If anything, perhaps a throw-in, not a bad result for the Swans there.
It's just that continued pressure forcing the Swans to retreat because they don't have that clear option going forward, and then you apply the pressure again and you gain even more territory as the Tigers.
Naismith in ruck. Geddes going nowhere.
Geddes is one that I have been impressed with from the Swans this quarter. He's got really good awareness of what's happening around him, which allows him to make really quick decisions and execute them. And it's not just when he's got the footy or he's winning the footy, it's when he's able to protect a teammate as well.
He's had 8 touches today, but Richmond ball here. Guinea goes in. Board mark was then dropped, I think, by Cleary. Cabor. Now Ben Edwards sending it out toward Green. Took a nice mark earlier in the quarter. There's chaos happening all around him. Tried to feed it out to Morrison. There is a turnover. McCullough's been good for Richmond. He's up to 17. Yassine goes for a jump and then goes for a run. Did kick a goal on the run in the second. Takes a bounce here. Helicopter ball potentially touched off the boot. Francis took some body as he got the hand pass out to Geddes, and now we're looking at Ludham's. And there'll be 50 as well as Steely Green got in his way. Is it 50 or not? Taylor Adams wanted to go for a run. I think it's going to come back to Ludham's. And he'll be taken to about 70 out from home.
Big 50.
Thought about maybe giving it off to Adams. Instead goes by foot toward the square. Green can't mark. Off hands it comes. Bartholomeus kicks the goal. Or it might be Cabor. Lockie Cabor kicks the goal. And the Swans are within a kick.
Really, that 50-metre penalty was a result of coming over the mark. The Richmond defender just got a little bit too eager there, and there was a little bit of confusion. So once Laddams did get up to his new mark after the 50-metre penalty, Steeler Green was the one standing the mark, and he, out of confusion, didn't know what was happening. Laddams was easily able to step in. But importantly for Sydney, too often over the last quarter and a half, they've gone for that long high kick to an Edwards or someone like that, or to a Green, sorry, and it's just not quite worked for him because he's in a 2-on-1, and then once the ball hits the deck, it's all Richmond. Whereas there, Cabor was actually able to have that ground level representation that was really, really dangerous in the first quarter and actually execute it. So it's about, again, that chemistry between the talls and the smalls.
Good bounce to restart play. Adams. Little kick down the line. And that is Bartholomeus, so I mis-ID'd him between he and Cabor for that last goal. Goes out of play. Got my 53 and 63 mixed up there, don't it?
And, I mean, as we said earlier, we're used to seeing Cabor in the 68, so it can get a little bit confusing at times.
Swans a goal away from reclaiming the lead here. Haven't had the lead since halfway through the second quarter. Did lead by 19 at quarter time, then Richmond kicked 5 on the bounce. In a game of shifting momentum. A lot of play happening at this Richmond Station side of the ground.
Yeah, and as I said, I think it's all about, it's more momentum than it is anything the reason the ball's living down that end.
Geddes knew the tackling pressure was coming. Johnson was there to meet him as soon as the ball arrived in Geddes' hands. He has to give it back to the umpire here.
So Richmond has tried to even up those numbers behind the play. So I said earlier that the Swans had the 2 spares in Francis and Laddams sitting behind. Now it's just the one. It's just Kelly who's actually coming up into the play now. So it's almost one-on-ones.
McAndrew's tap did find Indy Kirk. Johnson has him tackled. What does the umpire say? Holding the ball.
So this is where the Tigers spread really quickly.
Johnson kicked a goal in the second quarter for Richmond, one of those 5 as he goes down the line. Big punch by Francis. Potentially could have marked it.
Safe option though. If you're a key defender and you know that once you get trapped in your back half, you're in a bit of strife, punch it over.
It was auto mode, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Just go for the boundary. Geddes read the tap. I'm not sure it was a direct tap down from McAndrew, but it all came off the same in the end for Sydney. Al Nawar, just a looping little handball over the top and then spinning out of danger. Girolami as the kick just trickles back toward the wing. McAndrew, Kelly, Adams. Had a good day, Adams. 17 touches. The kick out wide. Just set the task, though, for Morrison. There was a little bit of help out there from Longmire. Morrison regains now, goes in board and finds Vickery. Gives off the quick handball. Francis. Lowish ball inside 50. A bit too shallow. Easy pickings in the end for Fennelly.
There were plenty of Swans in forward 50 and he's picked out the Richmond defender as if that was his forward. It was a beautiful kick if that's who he was trying to hit.
Sam Reid not out there at the moment.
No, we haven't seen him this quarter.
We don't have a direct line on the bench for Sydney.
No, it's all covered up, so we can't quite see it, unfortunately. Laddams is preparing to come back on in a moment.
McAndrew there from behind. Adams a little kick. He was surrounded by Tigers. McAndrew then with the tackle. There was a whistle. Might have been high contact. Free kick advantage paid. Wilson quickly sending it back out toward half forward for the Tigers. Johnson looking to set up Cumberland here. Can he get rid of the tackler? No, he can't. Geddes held onto the jumper. Then 360'd him. Great defensive effort by Max Geddes.
Told you Geddes was having a good quarter. He's been brilliant on that wing. those defensive efforts using his speed, but then really quickly becoming an option going the other way too.
It's finally poised, this game at the moment. 5-point lead for Richmond. Halfway through the third quarter. Green got tripped up just behind where the ball landed.
Bit of chaos right on the Swans bench here as to who's on, who's off.
Laddams, as you said, now just sneaking back on. It will be a free kick for Caleb Smith. One of just 9 from the AFL list.
Sorry, McGaw just having a couple of words, waiting on the Swans bench to Al Noor as he was taking the free kick.
McGaw still the leading ball getter on the ground at the moment with 20 touches. It's Cleary going down the line. Nice ball. Bartholomeus has it for Sydney. In front of his own bench.
The Swans are stuck skinny here because Richmond has populated that corridor, so they're forced to go down the line.
How does this one fall? Just clanking it late, Laddams. And there are options available up ahead, but he holds on to the ball.
The ball was there on his own for an eternity.
He's going to take on Al Noor. How's this going to go for the big man? Nearly got his pants pulled down. In some ways, perhaps he did. Free kick will go Al Noor's way, and again, there's some afters.
Laddams might be playing a little bit for a turned over free kick there, but it's not coming to him.
His pants weren't literally pulled down. They might have been metaphorically in that one.
He just needed to move quicker once he did take that mark.
Al Noor. Will he be playing in a big V jumper next week? Kick goes down the line. Off hands, and that should go out of bounds.
It's a massive, massive win for Richmond there.
So in this quarter, Richmond 1 goal, Sydney 2.
So Francis is into attack for Sydney.
There's no Reid out there at the moment for the Swans.
No Sam Reid, and Laddams is the one playing the ruck. So also no McAndrew on the field right now.
He's Laddams in ruck. Francis left it behind. Al Noor battling hard as well. Fennelly had no room to work with.
Caden Cleary's had really, really good intent around the ball and is willing to do that defensive grunt work.
14 touches for Cleary. Again, a hard ball to win. Adams did have it, but the whistle's gone. Non-controlling umpires paid a free kick. It's going to come back Richmond's way to McAuliffe. He's coming up for number 17. Had 9 out of 10 MVP votes last week as well in the Rebel Coaches Award. In that game against the Suns. This kick's going to hug the boundary a little too much. It was out of bounds on the full before Snell got that fist in.
Sydney has to be really measured in the way they pick their way up the ground, because we have seen these situations where the Tigers just mop up really, really quickly. Sorry.
No, you're right. Francis couldn't take the mark. Dump tackle, says the umpire. Another free kick for Al Noor.
Adams frustrated.
It's been a good output from him, though. As you said earlier, Gemma, just how do you get back into this Swans AFL lineup?
Yeah, as a pure mid, I don't know.
Stay with the live play here. Snap on goal. May does kick it for Richmond. Margin out to 11.
It's a great recovery at ground level from a big man in May. 197 centimetres to kick that neat goal out of a pack like that was really, really impressive. But again, the Tigers have played this expertly, forcing Sydney to kick long down the line. They're populating the corridor so that Sydney can't look to get that kick inside that we know they love to do at AFL level. And because of that, Al Noor is just causing a little bit of havoc. He's either winning a free kick or he's damaging enough in the air that the smaller Richmond players are able to kind of converge on it and win the footy as Adams walks up and down the boundary shaking his head in frustration. But Richmond has just played these last couple of quarters really, really smartly.
It's a time on third quarter. Scoring has dried up here. We are sitting on 2 goals apiece for this third term so far. All that fog and smoke we had at the start of the game is mostly cleared up now. We're in the sunshine at the Swinburne Centre. An off the ground ball towards half forward. I think there might have been a Falcon there for Coulthard as it ricochets toward the 50 and then socked forward by Indy Kirk. Tigers ball, although under a fair bit of pressure, was Fennelly as he tried to feed the handball out. Al Nawar defending and tackling and forcing a stoppage.
It was the right idea from Kirk. Just get it forward, knowing there was someone on his hammer. If he tried to bend down to pick that up, the stoppage would have been further out from goal for the Swans.
It's had it 11 times so far today. Enderman's under pressure. Hand pass does come out. One way and the other. Kabor. And then a little play on. Ended up back with Kabor. Right foot ball will land in play and be taken on the last line of defence. Caleb Smith next to the behind post. Holding on to an 11-point lead, Richmond.
Olden wants it down the line.
It's in the hands of Harris. McAuliffe has it. 18 touches for him now. Leading ball getter for the Tigers. Coming off a good game against the Suns. Nearly taking the mark, but not doing so was Ryan. It didn't matter too much in the end. George will go into ward attack. May had a couple of Swans in front of him. The kick is nowhere near him. It's out of bounds on the full. Will Edwards has it for Sydney.
Geddes wants the switch desperately back over to the broadcast side.
He's got plenty of space, but instead the kick goes down the line. McAndrew couldn't quite control it in the air. Naismith, bravo. Now a switching ball from Fennelly. Okay, Smith's had a fair bit of it as well. This is number 15 for him. Options in the middle. Is thinking about going central. Decides instead just to poke one nicely to half forward. Naismith takes the mark. And Sam Naismith will go short. A little too easy there for the Tigers. Steely Green is within range.
And this has all come from Sydney get a out of bounds on the full, free kick deep in defence. And instead of choosing to switch the ball, get it to the open side, use the run and carry, which they had the representation to do, opted to go the long kick down the line, which is exactly what Richmond wants of them, and now it's created a Richmond shot on goal.
Plant leg was at 48 metres out, and he kicks the goal. And again, every time Sydney just threatened to reclaim the lead, Richmond are able just to extend it a little bit. Margin at the moment at 17.
Good to see Steely Green get some reward for effort. I said earlier in the call that maybe he needs to start taking those opportunities for himself rather than trying to set up his teammates so often, because he is regularly getting into really good positions in that front half. So it was good to see him get found by Sam Naismith there, but probably a bit of an indictment on Sydney's defensive structure for him to have so much space.
Richmond have kicked 8 goals to 2 since quarter time. Some headaches for Damien Truslove. We're back in the middle. Latham still in ruck for Sydney. Edwards took plenty of time to make his decision and just go long in the ends, out in the direction of Green. Had Girolami for company. Tough ball to win on ground level. Plenty of bodies around it. Girolami did get the handball out. George has been ultra impressive on his VFL debut. Street was under pressure but did well to find Guinea. Guinea then turns it over. Cleary working his way through. Around a corner kick. Laddams was in the right spot. High left footer. Off balance at a kick. Al Nawar against Francis. Al Nawar sent it into Richmond Station.
We haven't seen Joel Garner return to the ground, have we, Adam?
Yeah, so that would be, I mean, you don't want to diagnose these sorts of things from our position, but potentially a concussion issue for him.
Yeah, it didn't look good at the time. he looked real shaky getting back up, so that's really unfortunate. I hope for the best for Joel Garner, that it's just precautionary, that they've kept him out for the rest of the game.
As we discussed in that second quarter as well, being a VFL listed player, a 21-day hiatus if it is a concussion. George did well. And the Tigers out of danger. Nice mark taken by Steely Green. As I mentioned, 8 goals to 2 since quarter time. It's on Richmond's terms at the moment. Ball runs out of play.
The sun has come out here. It's quite bright now, which may be impacting visibility in the air. But it is just a lovely day for autumn in Melbourne, Easter Sunday.
Plenty of warm weather to start this new season.
Which is awful. I maintain that the hot weather is awful.
Yeah, I'm more of a winter person myself as well, Gemma, I think.
Pete loves it. Our co-commentator on other days.
Arguably his first love is tennis, of course, which is obviously a summer sport.
We were together doing the doubleheader out at Port Melbourne on Friday, and he was having the best time in the 28-degree heat. Me, not so much.
Yeah, no. It's a winter sport. Cold, wet and windy, you don't mind that. As the Swans go into attack once more, over the head of Francis. What happens at ground level? Tigers just had that extra number there. Johnson then with the interesting handball over the top. Wilson did well, knew that body contact was coming, got the hand pass out to McCall. He goes to the wing. Kaczynski couldn't control it at ground level. This is Bravo as he has to get away from Laddams. Long range handball, Street gains it in the middle of the ground. Enderman was in his face and Ryan's kick is partially smothered. How does McAndrew control this? Just got shoved to ground there by a much smaller opponent there in Fennelly. George gets pickpocketed, turnover, chance here for Moi Moi. Kicked 3 goals in the first quarter. Chipping ball, Al Nawar from behind. I think that might be Francis who was the target of the kick, had Al Nawar shadowing him the entire time.
Just hit the deck as he was sliding for it. Al Nawar's played a really important intercepting role. So Francis, it seems, is trying to force him to play more of a one-on-one.
Dangerous ball here. Bartholomeus was waiting down at ground level. How does it bounce here? It bounced away from Geddes. Should see a stoppage called for here.
Yeah, that work rate from Richmond has increased significantly. They're outnumbering the contest, but then they're also, when they win it, very quickly getting the ball coming back the other way.
It's a free kick for a hold. It's going to be a Sydney ball in scoring range, and the ball is handed to Green.
It's presented well this quarter, Green. This is his chance to make the most of it after kicking his first goal in VFL earlier on this quarter.
Every teammate on the ground got around him for that one. Can he get a second? Bring the margin back down to 11. Will Green. The right foot ball was off the side of the boot.
Now it's here that the Swans have to trap it forward. They can't let Richmond go end to end as they have done with that handball game in and out of traffic.
This possession will start with Mutaz Al Nawar. Kaczynski's underneath this ball, as is Edwards for Sydney. He's the one that read it well. Will Edwards has it for the Swans. Sends it back to where it came from. Al Nawar is underneath this ball. McAndrew tried to get one hand up at least. Indy Kirk is in the region for Sydney. Then cutting across him and affecting the contest. Girolami ball there's dumped back out by Guinea. Edwards again has to get out that handball. A lot of Tigers in the vicinity here.
Edwards has hurt himself. His right foot or ankle. No, he
Trying
can't.
to put weight on it and can't.
No, he can't put his weight on that right leg, unfortunately. And he's had a good couple of minutes.
We know that Sam Reed's not out there at the moment for the Swans either. So that's a couple of AFL listed plays. He's trying to stay out there. Edwards just behind play at the moment. We've got a ball up here.
He's running it off.
Taylor Adams is still
active in this game on the bench at the moment. Looks like he's not done with just yet on managed minutes. Got more repeat stoppage. So Taylor Adams today, 18 disposals. He's had 11 tackles, 4 clearances.
Edwards has just come from the ground still limping.
Straight over the top of the ball here. McAuliffe had no room to work with. Naismith turns it over. Bartholomeus, a high wobbler. A hard one to mark, but Johnson does so.
Richmond have found that extra in defence so reliably in these last couple of quarters. Every time there's that long high kick into attack from the Swans, they're just having to compete with too many, and it's coming straight back out.
Not a huge scoring quarter, but it is a long one. We're now beyond 32 in this third quarter. Through the hands of Kazitsky. Naismith trying to make the tackle stick. Did well there, Snell. Bartholomeus.
Another one.
Francis is outnumbered here. Al Noor jumped at that ball. Does it stay in play for Street? Hand passing board okay, and the Tigers dump it back out. Snell can't take the mark. Naismith was in a good position as well to affect the ball. Regained by Coulthard. Tried to get the long-range handball over the top. Geddes gets taken out of play. A little slow to get up just in back play was Naismith. I think he's okay.
Yeah, he just had 2 Swans fall on him. Just took a bit of a breath before getting back up. But again, Richmond has played this well. For Sydney, the long high kick, use those interceptors that they know they've got sitting behind the play, and then gain ground off the back of it.
33 minutes in and we're still going. And the last action of the quarter is a Lockie Wilson kick inside 50. 10-6-66, Richmond holding on to a 16 but late in the third.
Yeah, he's out on the field playing down back, so I think he's all good. He definitely got that ankle strapped though, came back on tying his shoelace up.
He's the direct opponent for Kazitsky to start this final term. A high ball that won't quite penetrate 50, but a good mark taken out there by Olden. Tigers by 16 here. Trailed by 19 at the first break. Have had a good second and third quarter. This man's been presenting nicely inside 50 throughout the day. Samson Ryan's going for his third.
It's just a great contested mark. Made the space his own. His body work was good. Now it comes about just executing in front of goal. This could be a bit of a death knell for Sydney. I know it's right at the start of that final quarter, but as soon as Richmond get a little bit of a run, they become very, very hard to stop.
This would make it a game high, 22 points for the Tigers. Kicks through it nicely, and he's happy about it. The Swans have some work to do if they're going to work their way back into this one.
Yeah, and as we've discussed, that seems to be the scoring end of the ground, not because of any weather condition, just because that's the way it's all been going. But good from Richmond coming out of the middle, identifying an option inside 50 and hitting it. So there's method with the way they want to go forward, which makes it harder to defend. So McAndrew is Sydney's ruck here against Naismith, while Adams sits forward, and Samson Ryan obviously forward for Richmond.
Samson Ryan has 3 for the Tigers, alongside Phil Moy for 3 for the Swans. They were all in the first quarter for Moy. Naismith's kick doesn't go far, only as far as Sydney's leading ball getter on the ground in Jada McGaw. Right football toward the Punt Road wing. It's going to stay in play here. Who gets there first? Unable to control it was Ashley Cooper.
Gaining that territory is a positive for the Swans, though. It's from here that they need to not just dump kick forward, maybe move around, because they do have well-disciplined wingers. Geddes in particular sitting on this wing closer to the broadcast side. So actually using those numbers coming around rather than just dumping it forward.
Neither ruck can get a hands on the ball. Cleary's kick didn't really actually constitute a kick in here. Not sure it got too much boot. As Johnson sends it back out. Edwards did well to shrug off the tackle. Gave off the handball. Morrison inside 50 for Sydney. Francis flying. Slipped through his hands. Guinea with the hand pass over the top. Girolami to clear out for Richmond. Low ball Just completely clean bowled Coulthard. It was there waiting out the back though. He did get it back. As the ball goes down the line, Ryan gathered nicely, sent it to a 2-on-2 inside 50. Cumberland couldn't take the mark, but he might have some space here. Cumberland just fumbled and ball bounced off his boot. McAuliffe there to help out. Did spill out in the end. Bartholomeus back toward the wing. Some defending from Laddams. Laddams gets it back. Had some poise, the big man. Inside 50 we go. There's a chance here for Moi Moi. And then saying hello was Mutaz Al Nawar.
So Al Nawar, he's been all over the Swans forwards in the last couple of quarters. He came off Francis knowing that Moi Moi would be the option to lay that tackle.
Laddams out of the ruck quickly, gets boots a ball. He's actually potentially hurt himself after that kick. It's gone out of bounds for a throw-in, and Laddams not quite getting up. And they've had an issue or two throughout the day, Sydney.
Just took a moment. He's up. He's waving away the trainers.
He's not going to contest the ruck here. Looks like Francis will fill in that role against Naismith. Albeit the boundary umpire taking a long time to throw this ball in. It will be Francis in ruck. Actually got a decent leap on Naismith, but Naismith was there at the fall. Little kick didn't go far for Ashley Cooper. Smith, and they will clear out Richmond out toward Yassine. Jump on the ball, Vickery mistimes it. Yassine can go for a run, did kick a goal on the run in the second quarter. Takes a couple of bounces, had a few running bounces throughout the day. Then he just, well, bit off more than he could chew ultimately. So much red and white around him, but the numbers eventually did win out. Underneath this ball, but no mark taken. Girolami, Laddams, Cleary, Francis, a Tiger in front and behind him. This is Smith. Switching handball, Al Nawar, but had to come meet the ball. Moi Moi met him. No prior.
This Richmond defence has been fantastic with their positioning. They're offering that double layer, one in front, one behind the Sydney Swans' deepest forward. It reminds me a lot of North Melbourne's AFLW defence, which was the best defence in the comp last year.
Francis out of nothing, but there's a goalkeeper on the line, Fennelly.
So that's why Al Nawar has been mopping up, is that he's always got that extra bit of support, so he's able to contest and someone else is able to win the footy. And it's just getting a bit frustrating. That's why I keep saying you can't have that long dump kick in, because it's just going to feed right into the way that those two are set up.
Looks like Sydney is down to 3 on the bench. Sam Reid managed out of the game, and it looks like Taylor Adams has been now as well.
Yeah, we haven't seen him return, but not through any negativity. It was all planned, So his numbers today, 18 disposals, 11 tackles, 3 clearances, 3 inside 50s for Taylor Adams as he works his way back from that knee injury. Which has seen Francis swung into attack. Will Kelly and Will Edwards are those deep Swans defenders.
Enderman's kick didn't quite travel the distance required, but Vickery fumbled anyway. Bartholomeus has it now for Sydney. Standing start, high ball. Moi Moi, a couple of Tigers surrounding him. Harris has it for Richmond. That's not going to go the required distance. Kabor gets in the way of Al Nawar anyway. And Lockie Kabor commits the high tackle, free kick Richmond.
Something that's probably Sydney's been guilty of at senior level as well is not always having that ground level representation. We saw a couple of times in that first quarter that they were really well set up for that, and last quarter creating that goal well set up for that, but it's something that maybe they don't have consistency in, is having that person that sits on the deck that can clean up once the ball is equalised in the air. Whereas Richmond has been really attentive to that. They've always got those smalls sitting there ready to pounce.
Both rucks falling over each other. Sydney ball. McGaw. Edwards one way and the other. Dumping it inside 50. Kirk tried to get a little jump from behind, then it bounced into his hands and needs to find a handball target. Kirk. Francis was there. Still a chance here for the Swans. Ashley Cooper's kicker's on the way, and that will keep him in it. Just their third goal since quarter time.
Indy Kirk is coming. I think it's Indy Kirk coming from the ground a little worse for wear there.
Can't confirm that he's Indy Kirk.
A right arm, maybe. We'll keep an eye on that.
Father-son selection in last year's draft. Cat B rookie. Indy Kirk. He's already had plenty of experience for the Swans at this level.
So Ben Ashley Cooper was the late in for Sydney, replacing Constanti, who was the holdover for the AFL match in an hour and a half's time. His sister, Eloise, is the vice-captain of Port Melbourne's VFLW side, so saw her play the other day. They're from the Albury-Wodonga region, so one's moved up to Sydney, one's moved to Melbourne. They've split the difference.
That was Sydney's first goal since the 11-minute mark of the third quarter. Ball thrown up again. Does spill out. What's the umpire see? Holding the ball, free kick Sydney. Enderman takes it quickly. McGaw one way, then the other.
Francis.
They want a big finish here, the Swans. Francis came late to the contest. It bounces out the back. They've at least got it deep inside 50.
Great defensive punch from Smith there. He knew that there was body contact coming from behind. Just got the fist to it.
Ladham's doing a lot of the ruck work here for the Swans at the moment. We'll go against Ryan. Give that one to Ladhams. Moy. Can he find some room here? Has to give out the handball instead. Cleary went back to the voice. McGaw one way to the other. Does still get boots of ball. Green not quite at the full. Was there some high contact? Umpire said yes. Free kick going Fennelly's way for Richmond.
As much as Sydney's bench attendant disagrees, or interchange attendant disagrees.
Not sure who that is, but he's been quite active at the end of the second quarter where Richmond got on top of Sydney. He was the first one to gather up the troops and have a little huddle before they went into the rooms for half-time. So Richmond ball on the outer side. They might just start thinking about the clock a little bit, the Tigers. George has it at the moment. A couple of handballs. Kaczynski surrounded by Swans, and there's your turnover.
But again, couldn't kick long because the Tigers have all the representation.
Yeah, Morrison was forced to go short. Francis again the target over the head of Al Nawar. Maybe Moy's a chance. It's come off his boot. It's trickling toward goal. It's come off the Sydney boot either way. It will be a major for the Swans. And I might let Champion Data decide who kicked it, Gemma. We'll confirm that goal kicker shortly.
He backheeled that 25 metres out from goal and just had to trail it in.
Did he mean it?
I think he was just trying to kick it on to himself so that he could gather. But he backheeled that behind his other leg. I'm going to say...
I think our friends at Champion Data aren't quite sure yet either. It's not ticked over on the live stats.
I reckon it was Moy. That's who I'm putting it down for.
You might be listening to the live coverage on afl.com.au waiting for us to confirm it.
Either way, it was something out of nothing.
It's been credited to Lockie Cabal.
Oh, there you go. So that's his second. But that's... It's something out of nothing because the kick in from Sydney wasn't a good one. Francis is trying to becoming a leading option, but they're kicking it over his head or he's misreading it. There's just not the connection there.
Back into single figures here. Swan starting to get on top again. It's dumped inside 50 by Ben Edwards. Now to play it goes. Again, Francis and Al Nawar. Both have had key impacts on this game. The other live game in Smithy's VFL has now kicked off, Gemma.
Has it?
That one sees Sandy by 3 over Essendon. Southern Saints did beat Darebin earlier today in the Rebel VFLW. Ladhams around the corner. How does it bounce here? He tells Al Nawar not too worried about how it did bounce. It's a minor score. Eight-point ball game. Are you sure about your early exit? We could be going down to the wire here today, John.
Yeah, I'm very sorry. I might just step out.
You might be missing the grand finish.
Yeah, apologies.
Can go either way right now. May was affecting the contest. Wilson trying to bounce off a couple of would-be tacklers. It was Coulthard's kick going down the line. Kaczynski will see it out in front of the Richmond gates. And Yassine has something bothering him now, right on the bench. Not actually sure. He might be clutching his ribs, I think. No, Yassine.
I've liked some of the work of Lachlan Wilson in and under. He just gets his hands dirty. He's the extractor, essentially, for Richmond. Gets it. You think he's in trouble. You think he's going to get caught, but he just manages to squeeze out that handball that creates the exit.
Bravo's ball for Richmond. Had some time to make his decision, but he's gone into a very bad spot. And the only man that was underneath that ball taking the mark was Hamish Morrison. Kick out towards Snell. Some pressure coming from Cumberland, but he's got some help. Kelly there for Sydney. Well, Kelly holds onto the ball. Looking for Cleary. Nicely poised kick.
Swans have got even numbers in attack for the first time I've seen all quarter.
Cleary's had a good day. 23 touches. Again in Francis territory. Laddam's waiting out the back for Sydney, but it's a Richmond ball. Hand pass will come out toward George. Didn't get a good bounce. Harris there. George gets it now. And he'll go back to Harris. He has done some really nice things today on debut, Liam George.
Yeah, absolutely he has. And, you know, you think, oh, VFL, it's not the AFL. You're not going up a level, but it is a significant step up from things like community footy or the Coates Talent League. So for him to come up here, obviously kick that important goal early and just have a consistent impact has been good.
Girolami got one hand on it. Moy slipping over. Turf just not helping him out there. Took a little chunk out as he tried to get some sort of footing. Just a goal and a bit away from potentially re-establishing a lead, the Swans. We are going to have a boundary throw in attack. Good game of footy this one throughout the day. One of momentum swings. Cleary, one way to the other. Bouncing ball. Again, it's a behind.
Just taking a little bit too long to dispose of the footy there. Maybe it was trying to get onto that right foot, Cleary, but...
It was a rushed kick in here, but Kirk is not afforded any time or space.
Good to see him on the ground, though. He looked like he was in a bit of pain coming off earlier, but good to see him back out amongst it.
A lot of the Swans youngsters have been impressive today. Cleary, McGaw, Kirk, Francis, not so young, but impressive as well. Laddams. He's fluffed the kick there, Gemma, and he's just put his hands on his hips as soon as he kicked it, knowing that was a big chance gone begging.
Just hit the absolute belly of the ball.
Yeah.
Wanted to spin that around to bend it back for goal, and it just did not work for him.
Nice mark taken in front by Kaczynski. Inboard for Ryan.
McGaw recognised that option and worked so hard to come back and pressure it.
Tigers have the outnumber here. Fennelly's going to run onto the loose ball on the wing. Yassine down the line, slips through his hands. Not far away the entire time was Will Edwards, maybe some perceived pressure.
Edwards, good to see him moving well after what looked like a pretty sore right foot right on three-quarter time. But they were out there if Yassine had got a clean grab at that footy.
7-point ball game, approaching time on. Green sent Geddes the wrong way and then put it into the pocket nicely for Kaczynski, who's presented well at times today but has not got a goal to his name.
No, and this is a tricky one to kick, but it's a bit typical that if you've missed all your shots from right in front, this is the one on the boundary that you actually slot.
6 marks, but only 0-2 on the scoreboard today for Jacob Kaczynski. Looking to make his mark as a new Tiger.
Missed everything.
Still 0-2 on the scoreboard for him this afternoon.
Unfortunately, yeah. You'd be frustrated if you're Kaczynski, because he's done a lot of things right. He just hasn't been able to have that scoreboard impact.
Adams just coming into his own. It might have been touched on the way through. No mark was paid. That's a nice kick for Kirk. That makes up for the miss at the other end of the ground a couple of minutes earlier.
But he looks up and Tigers have those extras once again.
Kirk's come together with Coulthard as the kick was sent forward. I'm just looking back now. They're both okay. Coulthard will come off. On comes Steely Green.
We should mention again, the Swans are down to 3 on the bench, so they are starting to get a bit tired, although the Tigers have been down Joel Garner for a lot of the game as well.
And that was in the second quarter with a suspected concussion. Olden, the dump kick. Finger breaker, hard one the mark. Kelly there, Edwards. Throws it onto the right boot. Swans going deep once more. Francis can't make it stick.
Taylor Adams still wants to be amongst it. He's had the strapping on his knee taken off. He's done for the day, but he's still standing up amongst the benched Swans.
Yeah, he's
trying to get involved in a bit of chatter.
He's invested in the game, isn't he? He's been involved in a few moments throughout the day as well, good and bad.
He has, but it's a good sign that he's passionate about the new club that he's joined. He's invested in what's happening.
Bravo with the ball for Richmond. Since coming into the VFL with all the other northern states, the Swans haven't exactly set the world on fire in the VFL, and this will be year 4 or 5 now, I think, at this point, with them in this competition.
Yeah, and in an exciting new thing this year, Sydney and GWS will both play 5 VFLW games this year, which is exciting because it allows, we know that the northern states, New South Wales in particular, is probably a weaker state in terms of talent coming through and what those competitions look like. So having them involved in these competitions allows them.
So Cumberland's with the bouncing ball.
Free kick.
It's going to come back here. It's what's happened, Gemma. I was keeping an eye on the ball. The crowd's clapping. What exactly?
So Samson Ryan held Edwards from running. Edwards from running at the footy. Sorry,
confusion all around.
Lots of names that have doubled up today. From running at the footy, so it was a free kick for a hold. But yeah, it's good that these clubs, Sydney, GWS, have the opportunity to join VFL, VFLW, so that their development teams, which are these second-tier teams, have the opportunity to play higher level football to actually find development. Because if you're just beating up in the kneeful on teams that aren't quite as strong, it's no real point in playing players in those competitions, is there?
There is a men's W double header between Box Hill and Sydney coming up in a couple of weeks.
Couldn't be more excited.
I think I have been rostered to call that one on the AFL platforms as Coulthard tries to set something up with Kaczynski, and it takes an unkind bounce.
Caden Clear has just come off the ground after that big hit on the broadcast side here. Taylor Adams gone straight to him to reassure him that he's done a good job. So a bit of leadership there from Adams as well.
We are into time on, and it's a 7-point ball game Richmond's way. Boundary throw in the sunshine. High contact. Not much Geddes potentially could have done there. The umpire had to pay it. McAuliffe gets up with the Sharon in hand. They might be a goal away from sealing it, the Tigers. Ryan's been marking a lot that's come his way. Gets it now and is double tackled.
Yeah, so Swans fans, make sure you check out the next 5 weeks of the VFLW season, where your pretty much full-strength AFLW side almost will be playing in the VFLW. And that's all on the AFL app and site that you can watch.
There's a free kick that is going to go Samson Ryan's way. He's had a good day in front of goal. Adams a little bewildered as to exactly what it was for. Maybe some ruck lotto involved in that. And he can just end up with a nice little bag of 4 today, Samson Ryan. And it won't quite seal it for the Tigers, but it'll go a long way. Looking at a 2-0 start to the year in Smithy's VFL. Ryan has 4. Tigers by 13.
Is that a hill too far for Sydney to climb, do you think, now?
Problem is, every time they go forward at the moment, and Francis isn't the tallest option to go to, McAndrew is playing forward at the moment as well. The problem is that a lot of their entries have been dirty throughout this last quarter, and they're easy pickings for Richmond. Alden War in particular has had a really good day. Harris has been good for Richmond inside defensive 50. They have held up well, the Richmond back 6.
And the way that Richmond is pressuring the kick higher up the field as well hasn't allowed Sydney to be composed, lower the eyes, pick out the smaller option in space.
So that's 2 goals and a little bit more for Sydney. Bounce down to restart play. Laddams again grabbing it out of the ruck, but it's a rush kick that'll land at the top of 50. Eventually it was picked up and the pressure did arrive. Cabor, standing start. It won't be a goal, this one. El Nawar sees it go over his outstretched arm and through for a minus score. That makes it 12.
I did commentate a draw yesterday. Are we on the cards for another?
El Nawar toward our broadcast side. Ends up with Enderman. Getty sidestep and couldn't quite follow up against McAuliffe. Arguably Richmond's best today. Disposal number 25. He had a good day last week against the Suns as well. Through the hands of Ryan's got 4 goals today to his name. Laddams dumping it forward once more. It's a one-on-one. Green trying to keep it in front. Good defensive effort though by Girolami. Tigers win out once more. Johnson did well to find Yassine. Took some contact from Edwards. Umpire actually paid a high contact free kick to Mo Yassine. He's been in the wars today. I think he's got a rib issue. He's a bit slow to get up.
I hate the use of the phrase professional free kick, but that's exactly what it was. He'd taken that clean. Edwards had no chance to catch him. So slowed it down, forced the slow kick to a contest rather than allowing a speedster to just get on the run into an acre of space.
Richmond's in a good spot here. Kaczynski has the ball. And he's pointing toward goal, Gemma. It feels like every shot he's had's been in the pocket. He won't shoot this time. Goes to the goal square. Cumberland's more worried about his man than getting the ball.
Hasn't been his day, has it? He's run over a lot of footies. He hasn't had a clean gather.
Little kicking board by George. Was looking for Naismith. Waiting out the back was Steely Green. Naismith got taken.
Just unnecessary from Laddams.
Yep. A couple of Richmond players not happy with what Laddams did there. He's given away a lot of silly free kicks today. We've seen the good and the bad from Laddams throughout the day.
And coming off such a good game last week, unfortunate that he hasn't been able to, clean that up a little bit to impact footy-wise rather than just physicality.
This probably would be a sealer if it's not already sealed for Richmond. It's all eyes on Sam Naismith. He, alongside McAuliffe, with the 9 MVP votes last week in the Rebel Coaches Award. Directly in front. He's kicked a goal, and the Tigers looking at his 2-0 start to season 2024 in Smithy's VFL.
When had a quick word to Laddams after that as well, just to let him know, yeah, you gave me that one. So something that we know Laddams does allow to creep into his game at times is that ill discipline, that frustration boiling over. But it is something he needs to work out how to manage throughout games to not let it affect it so significantly.
So week off, obviously, next week in Smithy's VFL. Richmond's in a Tiger off against Werribee at Avalon Airport Oval is their next game. Sydney actually have the bye in round 3, so it's going to be a while until we see the Swans again in the VFL. Their next men's game against the Gold Coast Suns on the 21st of April. As they go inside 50 once more. Francis, did he push El Nawar out of it? He did. He's had a frustrating day up forward, Aaron Francis.
He has. It's not the position he probably planned to come in and play either. But through the way different players have been managed out of the game, he's been needed.
They're just going to chip around here, Richmond. Play out the clock. Looking at an 18-point win as things stand. Kaczynski over his head. Bounced nicely for Olden. Holds on to it for a while. It's a 2-on-2 here inside 50. Ryan trying to gain front position against Kelly. Straight to Cumberland. Little kick out toward George, who has got a goal today on debut. Just bounced away from him, Morrison. It's Hamish Morrison slipping over. It did spill out. One other live game in Smithy's VFL at the moment. That's a Trevor Barker Beach Oval, and the Zebras have had a very good start against Essendon, 6-4-40 to 2-1-13. That is a quarter-time score.
It's a big start to the game for them.
It's the TV game this week. Out at Sandy. A couple of handballs. Laddams. Little chipping ball down the line. Vickery got pushed off it. He's landed awkwardly. He will claim the free kick though.
But the time it's taken has allowed Richmond to get numbers back.
McGaw. Now the leading ball getter outright with 27 with his kick down the line. McAuliffe on 26 for Richmond. This one's just petering out a bit. It's been lively at times. It's been a bit fiery as well throughout the day.
Yeah, and the Swans just starting to look a bit tired at this point, aren't they?
Their first travel game into Victoria for the season. Richmond's also started their year in the Northern States up on the Gold Coast last week. Siren time pending. High contact free kick. Big show on State of Play podcast coming up this week, Gemma, with Joe Pignataro. What have we got in store?
Yeah, obviously we'll be doing all our regular segments, but yeah, chatting about the Big V game coming up next weekend with Zane Littlejohn, the coach of the Big V side, and hopefully, I've got my fingers crossed, we're going to get either a Swan or a Giant VFLW chat on there as well.
Indy Kirk, his kick is on the way, and that is a nice little way to top things off for Indy Kirk. He's kicked a goal. Might not matter for the result of the game. That's a great finish from out in the pocket.
It's brilliant. For a side that has really struggled to find those options forward, for him to see that opportunity and go, all right, let me have a crack. I'm within my range here. I don't really have an option to square it up a little bit, and then to go back and kick it. Nice and neat.
That might be Gemma done for today, I think. On AFL commitments now, we thank you for your input on this game. She'll scurry over to the MCG now. So, Tigers by 12. I wonder how much time is left here. If we still have a couple of minutes in hand on the countdown clock, then maybe the Swans are still a chance. Laddams going deep inside 50. Over the head of Francis. Tigers have a couple of sweepers out the back. Johnson, one of those, and now Coulthard has it. And the clock now all the more important for Richmond. 12-point lead for the Tigers. Coulthard down the line. Kazitsky arriving at the contest. Edwards there with him. Edwards had the better read on the ball, and the siren goes. An undefeated start to the season for Richmond. Edwards is actually going to think about a shot. You'll have to kick at 90. The song's already playing here. Just for that tiny bit of percentage, perhaps, it's going to fall well short. And Samson Ryan's actually just spoiled the ball directly into his teammate's face there. The crowd had a good laugh at that. It was Jed Fennelly getting a late falcon from his teammate. The Tigers win 13-6, 84. Sydney 10-12, 82. The Swans had a good start to the game, but the Tigers dominated from quarter time onward. They kicked 11 goals.